The Epstein files just got released, but they're not what you were expecting. The US Department of Justice says it has uncovered over 1 million additional documents since the initial release. And so far, what has been released consists of mainly redacted files, some of which are entirely black pages, and barely any new information. What's worse is now, some of the files are even being removed, and new ones are still being added. But it's not just the public that's upset about this. Even members of Congress are pushing back. They are now threatening the Justice Department over the Epstein files, because the public still isn't getting the full story. Two members of Congress from opposite parties say that the DOJ technically released the files, but with so many redactions and missing pieces, it defeats the purpose of the law that is supposed to make them public. Congress is even considering inherent contempt. This is an extreme and rarely used power. It would allow Congress to fine or arrest the Attorney General for blocking their investigation. And the craziest part, this has not been used successfully since the 1930s. This just shows how far this Epstein situation is escalating. The Justice Department insists it followed the law and says lawyers are still reviewing documents to protect victims. But lawmakers are not convinced, and neither is the public. Tensions escalated even more after a photo including President Trump briefly disappeared from the Epstein files after being reposted. The image showed a desk with an open drawer inside of Epstein's Manhattan house, and inside that drawer is a photo of Trump posing with several women. The Justice Department quietly removed the image shortly after the files were released. Officials said it was flagged for review out of concern that the Epstein's victims might appear in the photo. They said the goal was to protect potential victims, not to shield Trump. But just days later, the photo was back online. After reviewing it, the Justice Department said there was no evidence that any Epstein victims were depicted. The image was reposted, unchanged, and unredacted. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche insisted that the decision had nothing to do with Trump himself. But still, the timing seems suspicious, and many politicians are calling for a full and complete investigation. Because the document release fell short of what the law required, and the Trump photo wasn't the only thing missing. Reports say up to 16 files and photos briefly vanished from the Justice Department's Epstein website. Officials say they acted out of an abundance of caution after requests from the alleged victims and their lawyers. The removals, the redaction, and the reversals only add to the suspicion around the files, and they only raise an obvious question. Was this real transparency or just damage control? Well, let's break down the release of the files. On December 19th, 2025, the US Justice Department released over 13,000 documents tied to investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. This was mainly a result of pressure from Congress after passing the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This was signed by President Trump and required all unclassified Epstein files to be made public within 30 days. Officials are also saying that thousands of other documents will be released in the coming weeks. But will these documents be heavily redacted as well? Because as of right now, the files that were released reveal almost nothing new. As people started looking through them, they quickly realized that there wasn't any new information. People truly believe that these files would finally expose Epstein's full network and his connections to powerful figures. But all it did was raise more questions, and most of the documents were linked to old investigations. A 2005 Palm Beach police investigation, a federal probe in Florida that ended in a 2008 plea deal, and a 2019 investigation that ended with Epstein passing away in jail. They did not expand anything that we already didn't know about the Epstein case. The phone records, the travelogues, the victims' interviews are mostly blacked out. There's even a file labeled Grand Jury NY, which consists of 119 completely blacked out pages. These blacked out pages raise concerns about how transparent this release actually was, because the law that mandated the release of the files was intended to enhance transparency, and we have not seen that happen as yet. Another concerning part about these files is that President Trump barely appeared in the initial batch of documents, even though he was referenced in items related to Epstein before. Most of the photos of Trump were ones that were publicly released years ago, including the one showing Trump with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So this led to many questions whether the initial batch of files was selectively chosen and if it was meant to seem transparent without actually revealing more. It was also clear that one name dominated the entire release: Bill Clinton. Among thousands of documents, Clinton didn't just appear a few times, but he was clearly put on display. There are many photos of him with people whose faces are completely blacked out, and there's some disturbing images too, like this, with Clinton in a hot tub. This photo was instantly published everywhere, and the White House framed them politically. This made it seem like they were more targeting certain people than the actual truth and transparency. Clinton's team actually accused the Trump administration of weaponizing the release to distract from Trump's own past friendship with Epstein. But it gets even worse. These files may not have revealed much, but they confirmed what people feared, that Epstein was more connected than we thought. There are even photos of him socializing with Michael Jackson and Mick Jagger. There are also documents that mention Prince Andrew, Diana Ross, and Chris Tucker. Although there's no evidence in these files that they were involved in any of his crimes, it proves one thing beyond doubt, that Epstein didn't move in the shadows. He moved comfortably among the most powerful people. He was embedded in the elite social circles across the entertainment and political world, and they likely knew exactly what he was doing for a long time. But it doesn't end there, because some of Epstein's most powerful financial connections are barely mentioned at all. The ones with money, influence, and protection. Figures like Les Wexner, who helped bankroll Epstein's entire lifestyle. Wexner is the founder of Victoria's Secret and Bath & Body Works, and he's widely seen as the man who helped finance Jeffrey Epstein's rise. Epstein managed Wexner's money and was even given power of attorney. Wexner has denied knowing about Epstein's crimes, but his role remains key in understanding how Epstein gained wealth and influence. And also Leon Black, who admitted to paying Epstein millions even after his conviction. These are names the public has heard for years, but yet they were suddenly reduced to the footnotes of these files. And when the most powerful people in the room disappear from the record, that silence becomes the loudest detail of all, because transparency isn't about who you show, but it's about who you don't. With this, many redacted faces, missing names, and lack of context, we have to wonder if this is really the whole truth. The files were released, but it seemed like it was just a version that we were allowed to see. On Christmas Eve, the Justice Department said it discovered over 1 million additional documents, and within this, there is an email referencing at least 10 potential Epstein co-conspirators, which raises new questions about who was being protected and why. This delays the full release of the Epstein files, which are legally required to be released by December 19th. The DOJ says the release could take several more weeks, but lawmakers from both parties say the delays already breaks the law. Even Republican Congressman Thomas Massey, who helped pass the law, said, "Time's up, release the files." For now, we're just gonna have to wait and see how it unfolds in the upcoming weeks, and if we'll even get more truth about the Epstein case. If you enjoy the video, like and subscribe, it would really help out the channel. And if you're already subscribed, I appreciate the support. And until next time, thanks for watching.